Hey, thanks for dropping by and checking out this message. These lessons come from our Sunday gatherings at Victory Christian Church in Franklin, Indiana. Our 5th through 8th graders meet at 9 or 10:30 a.m. and our high schoolers meet from 6 to 8 p.m. If you find that this content brings value to your life, then please consider subscribing and hitting that bell so that you can be notified when we upload our next message. Our hope is that this video brings more clarity into your life as to who God is and what He wants for you in light of who Jesus is and what He's done for you. Enjoy and have a great day.
Anybody ever been on a bad date? I guess if they're in the room, then you can't really admit to it, right? But anybody, present company excluded, ever been on a horrible date? Or a date that, all the leaders are raising their hands. I hope it's not your spouse that's back there, because that'd be awkward. But when I was in college, so this was before Chelsea and I started dating, there's this girl that I liked, and so we, before you define the relationships, you heard that phrase, the DTR, you define the relationship. Before that had happened, we were in kind of this, we were texting, we were going on walks. Fortunately, at Ozark Christian College, there was a park right next to campus with these long trails that you could just walk and get to know one another. And so we would walk the trails and get to know each other. This happened for several weeks, and then I got up the courage. I asked her on a date, and based on our conversations leading up to that, we seemed very compatible. We seemed like we could potentially have something there. And so I pick her up for dinner, and I take her to Outback Steakhouse, and which I love, by the way, but at that time, that was expensive. I'd never paid more than $30 for a meal before, and I did that night. And so I pick her up, and the car ride, first off, so awkward, because it's everything that we could have talked about, we already talked about on those walks. And then we get to the dinner, and she didn't know I was paying. I was like, I've got you. I asked you out. I'm going to pay for you. She's like, oh, okay. Okay. You ever been here before? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Well, I haven't, so I'm going to figure out what I want. And then the whole dinner was like that. Super awkward. Every time I'd ask a question, it was not much of a response. And she would ask me a question, it made me not much of a response, but maybe a sentence. And it was we finished the date, took her back home, dropped her off, never talked to her again. not really, because it was a small campus, but I didn't talk to her in that way again. In fact, it was weeks before she messaged me on Facebook. She's like, so, how do you feel about everything? And I was like, yeah, I think we should just be friends. And she was like, okay, cool, I thought the same thing. I just didn't want to hurt your feelings. Cool, thanks. See ya. Super awkward. Man, I didn't date a whole lot. Date. I had a couple girlfriends, but we didn't go on dates super often. So this was I wasn't living at home anymore. I was in college. It was my freshman year, and that was really the first date I went on. That was I had to go pick her up, and it was just weird. I'm glad I'm not in that stage anymore. But you guys know what that's like, right? Maybe it's not from a date, maybe it is, but you sit in that conversation in that room and you just cut the tension with a knife because it's so freaking weird, right? And you just you don't know how, you thought you guys had something in common, so that's why you said yes to the date, or that's maybe why you asked for the date, but then you got there and it was just nothing, no spark. It was like she had my personality almost, which is not fun naturally. I need a Chelsea to make me fun, and she was not that. So it was very boring, very and we've all kind of been there, but when we talk about dating, I kind of alluded to this, but there's lots of different definitions, whatever you want to call it, whether it's dating or going out or your friends right now, or your special friends, right? Or you're texting, we're Snapchatting. Yeah, I can't say special friends anymore, sorry. That used to be a thing when I was in middle school, you can't say that anymore. So it was just there's just, there's different terms for it. There's different terms for everything. Stop laughing. There's different terms for everything nowadays. And there was a little bit this way when I was in college, right? When I was still dating, and we're like you weren't dating, but you were like interested in them, and they were interested in you, and you thought you were kind of exclusively interested in each other. If you're at that stage, but you haven't DTR'd yet, you haven't defined the relationship, you're in that no man's land. So whatever you want to call it, let me just define the term we're going to be using this series, which is dating. Okay, so dating is being in a relationship, whatever that looks like, where the other person means more to you than just a good friend. That's what we're going to go off of for this series. We all good? Dating. Fun stuff. So this is what we're talking about. How do we do this? And even though no matter what you call it, maybe you don't want to talk about this for a few reasons. Maybe one of those is that you're in a situation that we don't have a label. We're not going to label it because that's like jinxing it, and we kind of like where we're at right now. Like, you've heard that if you've not been the one to say it. So like there's that reason maybe you don't want to talk about this. Maybe another reason is that dating isn't even on your radar. Maybe you've got like homework and lots of extracurriculars, and you just don't have time to invest in another person other than yourself, so you're just not even interested in dating. Maybe you can't seem to meet anyone who is interesting to you. Everybody else that you know in your circle is someone that does not interest you, or maybe the person you are interested in isn't interested in you back, and we've all been there. And it's hard, but you will survive. So there's a number of reasons that we might not want to talk about this, but if you're at all interested in having a date someday, or dating well, then most of us, we want to be able to do things now that can set us up for great dates later, so that you don't have another awkward one, or that you kind of know how to, once you get past the awkward stage and you DTR, you know how to go down a path that helps you like just really enjoy dating each other. And that's a fun, it's an exciting stage. Things are new. You're kind of in that infatuation stage where like everything's cute before all those things that are cute now become annoying later. And it's just really wonderful where you get to enjoy that. Dating can be a lot of fun. But before we go any further, I know that if I was you sitting in the room when I was in high school, I'd think, okay, here's the sermon where they're going to tell us not to date. No joke. When I was in 8th grade, I was dating a girl that, as much as an 8th grader can, that her parents were invited to speak to our Sunday school class by my dad, who was the youth minister, and they talked all about why dating in junior high is dumb, and I was on the front row dating their daughter, and talked about 2% of relationships last past high school, and the ones that, and you've heard it. Oh, thanks. Yeah. And that's how I felt. And everybody in the room was just staring at, I broke up with her that week, by the way. And no joke. And I was like, hey, we should talk. And she's like, okay. She's like, apparently her parents had done this to her with previous boyfriends in the past. And so, so I broke up with her. And so here's the talk that I promise, this is not going to be a church like, don't date. Dating's stupid. This is not going to be this talk, okay? What this is going to be is like, how do you date well? How do you date with a clear conscience and date in a way that you don't have any regrets, but that you have healthy relationships with the person that you're dating and with your friends in the midst of dating somebody. And that's what this whole series is going to be about. Actually, the Bible has a lot of helpful things to say about dating. How many of you've ever searched the scriptures for something that you need help with? What does God have to say about this aspect of life? Did you find much dating advice? The answer is no. Because there's no dating advice in the Bible per se. But there is lots of wisdom that can be found in the Bible to help us as we enter into this discussion on dating. And so we're going to look at Proverbs. Proverbs is always a great place to start when you're looking for wisdom, because it's wisdom literature. It's like Solomon wrote most of it. He's like the wisest guy who ever lived, according to the scripture. And so he gets the special wisdom from God, and so he writes down a bunch of stuff in a couple of books. Actually, he wrote most of Proverbs, he wrote Ecclesiastes, he wrote a lot of Songs of Solomon. Don't read that one right now. And lots of wisdom for a lot of things. And so he writes in Proverbs, and when it comes to dating, gaining and applying wisdom is the best way to really save the date. It's the best way to have the best dating life now and in the future. So whether you're in a relationship now or you are wanting to be in a relationship someday, the wisdom book is a good place to start. So we're going to look into Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 27. So this is what he says. Put your outdoor work in order and get your fields ready. After that, build your house. So if there's one thing in life I don't know super well, it's construction and how to build a house. But I like that I know enough about it, kind of, to make this illustration work. So here's the thing. If you're going to build a house, how many of you would consider yourself like construction-minded? Like you're handy. You like if you were tasked to fix something around the house, you can YouTube it and fix it fairly quickly. Okay. I've gotten that way as I get older, but I'm not wired that way. I don't know, maybe. But when it comes to house building, there's a couple things that you have to do. The ground has to be level, right? Hopefully everybody knows that. Because you can't build your house like sideways, because that's, gravity. It doesn't work. So you have to have a level ground so you can pour the concrete, so you can have a strong foundation, so you can build your house on it. Okay, so when you have to make sure that the ground is level, you can't just start building on the ground, the plot of land that you find. You have to do your outdoor work in order to get the field ready. You have to get the ground where you're going to build your house prepared before you build on the house. And so basically his advice is get your land ready for a house, then build a house. And it's that easy, right? And that's what he's talking about. And so basically preparation is the foundation that success is built on in any area. Preparation is the foundation that success is built on. And you know this because if you want to succeed in passing your classes, you have to prepare and study for the test sooner than 10 minutes before the test, right? I was one of those, study 10 minutes before the test, get in there early when the bell rang and try to just look over my notes, and then, so that was the way that I studied for tests most of the time. And so, but you guys have been there. Maybe you know that your grades are important. You need to get your GPA up and get accepted in certain colleges, but you didn't start worrying about that until like halfway through your junior year, and then you're like, oh, whoops. Like preparation is the foundation for success. And so, if we are going to apply Solomon's home building guide to your dating life, it would be get yourself ready to date, then date. Pretty simple, right? Get yourself ready to date, then date. With preparation, the foundation that success is built on. If you want to have a successful dating life, if you want to save the date, then you have to get yourself ready to date before you date. And here's what I want to say tonight. Here's the big main overarching point. Okay, this will set us up for every other area that we're going to talk about for the rest of the series. You guys ready? Are you guys ready? You want to hear the best piece of advice from today's message? Okay, just making sure you're still awake. I know it's a boring topic, right? But if we want to save the day, here's what we're going to have to learn. Becoming the right person is greater than finding the right person. You got to prepare the house. You got to prepare the land, then build it. You got to get yourself ready. Prepare for the date, then date. And if you want to have success when it comes to dating, you have to become the right person. Becoming the right person is greater than finding the right person. And we see this is backwards in the way that we think because of the way that we're trained in the movies and in all the books and all the stories that we hear of romance in our culture. It's finding the right person, right? And you have to find the right person. But the reality is, he's saying, actually, that's not how it works. And this doesn't come naturally to us because it's easier for us to look for somebody else to make us feel a certain way than it is to try to get right on our own and feel right on our own. And so we naturally just look for somebody else to brighten our spirits, make us happy, make us feel whole and complete, to make us feel like we're worth something because somebody else thinks so. And that's natural. But Solomon is saying, no, you actually have to become the right person before you try finding the right person, or the person you find will not be the right person. In fact, the person that you find, if your focus is not on becoming the right person, but if your focus is on finding the right person, then once you do find that person, the focus will be on them to complete you, to them to make you happy. You're giving them the power to your happiness. Do you want to bet your happiness on somebody else? That you're giving them like it's their job to make you happy, like they're your savior. Like we put them on this pedestal and we have these unspoken expectations that they're going to just make us feel when we meet the right person, then we'll be the right person. Because that person will make us the right person by bringing the best out of us. But that's not how it works. And so when we elevate another person, when we elevate the idea of finding the right person to bring the best out of us, and it's backwards, when we try that, then we end up putting the person up in a position that they're just destined to fail. Because people are human, they make mistakes, and they cannot fulfill everything for you. There's only one person that is designed to do that, and his name is Jesus. And until we get ourselves right, becoming the right person, then we will never really find the right person. So how do you know if this has become a problem for you? This is a problem for you potentially if, when you have somebody in your life, they are all that you think about. Or maybe they're the only person you spend time with, and the people closest to you haven't seen you in a while. Maybe this is a problem for you when you have somebody in your life and they are all you talk about. Whenever you're with your friends, they don't have to guess what you're going to be talking about at lunch today. You're going to be talking about him or her. You're going to talk about the fight you had. You're going to talk about the just awesome relationship that you have or whatever. Maybe it's when you don't have somebody, but the idea of having somebody and finding somebody takes up most of your brain space, and you talk about dating and finding the right person than people who are actually dating. Right? Maybe this might be a red flag for you. Because when everything in your life seems to fade because of another person, it's a problem. First off, you'll miss out. You'll miss out on making memories. You'll miss out with your friends. You'll miss out on core relationships that you could be having, you could be building upon, because you're focusing on just one person exclusively. And it's easy. Guys, I've been there, so I'm not speaking out of judgment, because I've been there. And I have gone months without speaking to friends, not because I didn't care about them. I care about them. I just really wanted to spend time with my person. And it damages some of my friendships. Sometimes you alienate people. And your friends aren't stupid. When you start spending all your free time with somebody else instead of the people that you used to spend your time with, they notice those things. And so that's maybe a sign that you should be watching out. Maybe it's a sign to start working on you and becoming the right person than making somebody else be the right person for you. If you aren't dating anyone, stop thinking that your life can't really start until you find the right person. Stop thinking that your life can't really be good until you find the right person, because it's a myth. There is no such thing. There is no such thing as the one. There's no such thing as soulmates. That sounds really depressing. I'm not trying to beat up on you guys. But here's the reality. Love is a choice. It's a commitment. And when you have made yourself right, when you've worked on yourself, then it makes it really easy to commit to somebody else who shares the same values as you. I like the way that Paul says it. Paul says, and many of you, if you've been in church for a long time, you've heard this verse, but I love what he says in 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. He says, love is patient and kind. It is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. He goes on, it is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It doesn't remember, hey, remember when you did this like 3 years ago? Remember when you did this last week and we didn't talk about it, but I just bottled it up? It keeps no record of wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up and never loses faith. It's always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. Ultimately, love is a choice, and it's something that we have to practice. And if you want an indication of how somebody is going to treat you when they're past the infatuation stage, about whether they're going to be a good person to you and to your family someday, if you want to know what kind of person they are, see how they treat their family. See how they treat their mother. See how they treat their father. See how they treat their siblings. Because that's generally a good indication of how they're going to treat their future family when they have one of their own. Because the way we live, the way we practice love, the person we become, the person we are, is far greater than the person that we match up with. So before we start looking for the incredible someone, maybe we need to be working on ourselves. And if you're in a dating relationship, start now. Start trying to become the right person. If you're not in a dating relationship, stop looking for somebody else to bring the best out of you. You work on you. And it takes practice, it takes work, but if you want to save the date, if you want to have the best dating life, if you want to have the best relationships with your friends, with your significant others, then start living out this. Focus on you. Choose what you want to work on becoming. If you want to be all the characteristics, somebody told me this a long time ago, I've never forgotten it. When you're reading that verse in 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind, instead of trying to just read that as love, because in English we have the word love, which means I love you, and it also means I love hamburgers. And it kind of diminishes the meaning of the word. In the original language, in the Greek, there's 3 different words for love. One is erotic or romantic love. One is friend love. One is heavenly or godly love. There's so many different ways to describe exactly what we're talking about. But if you replace the word love with your name, Zach is patient. Zach is kind. Zach does not envy. Zach does not boast. Zach keeps no record of wrong. When you put your name in there, that's how you frame your mindset into becoming the right person. Are you all of those things? Choose what you want to work on becoming, and then practice it. Practice it with the most annoying people you have to interact with. Because tell you what, if you could be nice, and if you could be kind, if you could be patient with the people that annoy everybody else, guess what? That just makes you extremely more dateable. Because don't you just feel good and feel like proud to know somebody when you're interacting with somebody, and then that annoying person comes up and they start coming in with all their drama and start causing stuff, and then they're just super nice to them anyway. They show empathy. And then you just start to feel like, wow, I wish I could be more like that. Or that makes me feel good because I know if I'm having a bad day, they'll be kind to me. They'll be patient with me. We want that. So choose what you want to work on becoming and then practice it. Because practice makes progress. I don't like the phrase practice makes perfect because that rarely happens, but practice does make progress. Work on becoming the right person because it's greater than finding the right person. So think back to Paul's list. Think about those things. Wouldn't it be amazing if just you worked on the first 2, patient and kindness? How much of a happier person you could be because you're not irritable by all the things that make you lose patience, like me driving on the road. Think about how much happier I would be if I didn't feel the urge to cuss people out when they pulled out in front of me, right? I could just let that go and just be patient and kind. I would probably have lower blood pressure. It's probably going to be an issue someday if I don't get that under control. For real though, like those of you who are driving, you know what I mean. Don't pretend you don't. We are just generally happier people, and we make the people around us happier when we work on us and we become the person that the person we're looking for is looking for. When it comes to dating, becoming the right person is greater than finding the right person. That's all I got for you guys this week. Next week, we're going to continue this conversation, how to make yourself, wouldn't you just love to be, you don't have to raise your hand, but wouldn't you just love to be the most dateable person? Like, people look at you and they're like, I want to date that person. You could be like the person that nobody considers dating until they see how dateable that you are because they get to know you and they see like, wow, that person is like a stellar person. That person cares about people. That person makes me feel good. That person treats even the people that people don't respect with respect. That makes you more dateable. That makes you more appealing. And if you want to save the date, then focus on becoming the right person. Let me pray for you guys, and then you'll be dismissed to your small groups.
Hey, hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed so you're notified when we upload future videos. Have a great day.